Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. One of the things I love about the yoga story is that Purusha, or spirit, is the pure light of consciousness who sees the contents but can't be seen itself. Just like your teeth can't eat themselves or your eyes can't see itself. So there's something about spirit which sees everything but cannot be seen, but it can be reflected by what's called the buddhi, the discriminative intelligence. And of course, the techniques to enable you to do that are really simple. Let the breath be held out after the exhalation. And when you suspend the breath, then the prana, or the life force, along with the mind becomes still in its own place. According to the yogis, of this, there is no doubt. But you got to practice that, which means you have to sit still long enough to work out those techniques where you're not struggling, but you're doing it in a kind of calm and continuous way. Remember, yoga is about transformations, that we all have the seed of potential, but it has to be cultivated. My teacher called it parinama, the transformations of consciousness. He used to say, pregnant today, deliver tomorrow. No, it doesn't happen that way. There's some gestation period. So in the same way, you plant the seed of yoga, but it has to be cultivated through time. And even though I usually criticize the idea of postponement by doing things with the eye toward the future, there's fulfillment moment to moment, benefits moment to moment, as well as something that may happen seemingly in time in the future. So we come together as a temporary initiatory village to share with each other. So we're not lost in what I would call the atomistic consciousness of individuals separated from one another, but we really reinforce through the practices and the way we meet virtually the web of interconnectedness. And that's the modern version right now of diksha, or initiation. Just like the shamanic tradition, which recognizes passing on to the apprentice certain secrets and how to move between the lower, middle, and upper worlds, which we could call the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious if we wanted to, and whether or not we'll be able to suck out the evil spirits like they do in shamanic training. Maybe we can suck out the negative forces inside ourselves, or help each other diffuse those other shadowy things that we have within. But if there's an assumption that the universe is an accident created for no purpose, that there's no reason for existence, then that has to be challenged. The universe is not dead. The living activity of your own being ought to indicate it's alive. Right. So although physics supposedly studies the real world and makes psyche derivative and therefore secondary, yogis would say that's not true, that consciousness is right there from the beginning. But just like water, the wet thing that we understand and drink and utilize and so forth, when we say it's H2O, two molecules of hydrogen and one of oxygen, how do you know that? Well, you got to strip water down to its basic constituents to find out that from another level, that's what it really is, not that wet stuff. Well, in the same way, we have to strip reality down to its basic constituents and go beyond what physics says to find out that consciousness is at the base of every perception. So our subjective self-perception is not to be reduced solely to physiological or psychological or neuroscientific explanations, because consciousness is the underlying aspect of everything, according to yoga, and it's more real in a certain way than the physical sciences. So, although it seems like we're alone out here in the cosmos, somehow we are surrounded by these natural forces, and they all fit together. And so there's no division, and that's called Advaita Vedanta, non-dualistic understanding. We're not going to create an ideology about it. Yoga has teachings about oneness, but again, it's not a dogma. It's an experience. It's techniques. Yoga states facts and then gives you techniques on how to experience those facts. So considering how little we know about the huge cosmos that's out there, we're still evolving towards a greater understanding. And of course, since it's easier to scapegoat other people than to see our own shadows, it really requires viveka or discrimination to see the darkness within oneself. Um, just like it says in the gospel, take the log out of your own eye, then you can tell your brother about the little mote that's in their eyes. So I hope that we all work on breaking through negativity and remembering, even when we're having individual pain, individual suffering, we think nobody else understands. Take a moment and, like the Buddhist Tonglen practice, think of all the other people in the world going through what you're going through and send them a little bit of love, a little bit of grace, a little bit of peace to help out, just as you probably wish people would be sending you some grace and peace to help you out.